This video will explain all the stuff that you see on the screen when you open up an academic article, and then in the second half we'll discuss the parts of the article itself. So you're in a database, you've clicked on the title of an article that looks interesting, and it pulls up a page that looks like this. But what is all of this stuff that you're seeing? To start with, this is the title of the article, followed by the name of the authors who wrote it, and the source where it was published. In this case, we can see it's the Stanford Journal of International Law. It was published in the summer of 2019 in volume 55, issue number 2, and these are the page numbers it's on in the physical journal. This tells you that this is an article. Some databases go into more detail here and they'll say scholarly article or news article. If it's a different type of document, maybe an audio recording, a video, a conference proceeding, it will tell you that as well. Subject terms can be useful to you when you're researching as well. These are terms that are going to pop up repeatedly in other articles that are about the same type of content. So things like internet security, human rights, freedom of speech, these are the examples used in this particular article. But if these are topics that are of interest to you in your research, you can use those to find other similar articles. Occasionally, you'll also see author-supplied keywords. Those are going to be a little bit more up to the whim of the author. Maybe if they're using particular terminology, they will give the journal that to publish. Those can be helpful to you as well. Industry codes aren't going to pop up on every article, but they're very common in anything related to cybersecurity. There are cases where it will be helpful to know what your industry codes are, and you can also search by industry code. Next, the abstract is a particularly important element. You want to read the abstract before you ever open up the article itself. It's kind of like the blurb on the back of a book. It tells you the plot, except the abstract also gives away the ending. It's going to tell you what research was done, what they found out, and if that's relevant for what you're looking for your own research. We can scroll down and get a little bit more additional information. In this case, the author affiliations discusses which university programs the author is associated with. ISSN stands for International Standard Serial Number. It's like the ISBN when you're looking for textbooks online. Sometimes you can use that to look up a specific article. If we scroll back up, over on the right side here is going to be a series of links. A lot of these are associated with accounts that you could make with the publisher, so you're not necessarily going to need to use them. I do want to point out, if you click on things like print or email, it's not going to print the entire article. You can see it'll print the citation and the abstract, not the article itself. You'll have to open up the PDF in order to do that. However, cite can be useful. If you click on that, it'll give you a list of citations in various formats. You do want to be careful because while the information itself should be correct, the formatting may not be. Finally, the permalink can be useful. If you copy the URL at the top of the screen, it will not bring you back to this article. This is based on the singular browsing session. If you want to find it again via the internet, use the permalink instead. And of course, to open up the article itself, you go over here to PDF full text. Other academic databases may look different visually, but they'll provide very similar information and tools. For example, if we go into JSTOR here, we can see it still provides the title, the authors, the information on where it was published. Here we have the URL that's the same as the permalink in the EBSCO database, and the link to pull up citations, as well as, of course, the article itself. And in a third database, once again, the title, the publishing information. We have to click on this abstract details page to get some of that information like the keywords, but it's still there, as well as, of course, the abstract, citations, and if we click on all options, the permalink. As you get more familiar with navigating databases and reading academic articles, you'll start to recognize the same information over and over again. Now we'll cover the parts of the academic article itself. Most articles will begin with the abstract, and they'll have it posted before the body of their paper begins. Following that is the introduction. Next, we have the literature review. The lit review is the place where they describe the background information to their research, which is comprised of research done by other people. Lit reviews are an important way to add context to an article. When someone begins to research, they look up what have other people written on this particular topic, what knowledge is already out there, because they don't want to duplicate information that we already have, and they also want to establish, here's where my research fits in all of this knowledge. Next, we come to the methodology. The methodology tells you how the researcher actually got their data. So while you may not always read the methodology section in depth when you're doing your own research or putting together a literature review yourself, it's an important element to ensure that this research was done well and that it's reproducible. Next, we come to the findings. That is, as you might expect, what the researcher found. This is the part where they're saying, here is my knowledge, here is the data that I gathered. And the researcher presents what they learned in a measurable way. Sometimes there's a discussion section separate from the findings in which the researcher talks about the meaning of what they found and how that applies to their field. At other times, that is rolled into the findings section. In this article, it's all in one. The last element in the body of the paper is the conclusion. This is where the researcher summarizes everything they've said so far. Here's what they learned, here's how they learned it, and here's what it means for the field. And finally, the bibliography, or the works cited, or the references page. They all mean the same thing. This is where the author lists all of the different resources that they used in putting together their literature review, establishing the background for their research, or as part of their research itself. Their bibliographies can be very useful to you in putting together your own research, because if you find an article you like, often they're going to reference other articles that may be useful to you as well.